court ruling against his asylum policy. Welcome to a special Thanksgiving edition of America's News Headquarters. I'm Ebony K. Williams.
All right, good to be with you. Great to be with you at home. Here's the deal. We got a lot of news in the next couple of hours. Make sure you still check on the turkey, though. That's the important part.
Don't let anything burn.
No. The turkey is key here. I'm Leland Vittert. President Trump's remarks drawing a rare public rebuke from Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, which prompted a flurry of tweets from the president this Thanksgiving, who then doubled down on his comments just a few hours ago.
So we're doing very well on the southern border. We're very tough. We get a lot of bad court decisions from the Ninth Circuit, which has become a big thorn in our side. We always lose, and then you lose again and again, and then you hopefully win at the Supreme Court, which we've done. But it's a terrible thing when judges take over your protective services, when they tell you how to protect your border.
All right, so that was the president talking to the troops earlier today. Live Fox team coverage. Alicia Acuna covering the situation on the southern border. We begin with Kevin Corke, who is traveling with the president. Even on Thanksgiving, Kevin, no rest from the politics, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that, Leland, and happy Thanksgiving to you and Ebony and the entire Fox family and all of our viewers watching at home. Let me just sort of give you the backdrop for all of this. This actually stems back to the president's comments. You may have heard him talk about Judge John Tiger. Yeah, he made that decision to have a nationwide injunction to slow down the administration's idea of altering its asylum policy. Well, the president thought that was purely political. And, of course, he was talking about that. Let me share just a bit of where we are now as we try to advance this story. As you mentioned, it has been a very busy day. We've actually seen this before, by the way, Leland, where a lower-level federal judge and an Obama appointee, as in the case of Judge Tiger, makes a ruling to effectively thwart the Trump administration, forcing it to go through the courts before having a policy take effect. Well, the president called the judge, well, he called him an Obama judge, and that is why Chief Justice John Roberts weighed in. He said this: we do not have Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges or Clinton judges. What we have is an extraordinary group of dedicated judges doing their level best to do equal right to those appearing before them. He added this, that independent judiciary is something we should all be thankful for. But given, frankly, Leland, the Ninth Circuit's well-earned reputation for being, let's just say, progressive, and they've also been overturned fairly frequently by the Supreme Court, well, the president says, listen, now is the time to finally call them out.
Hopefully we've shown some light on the Ninth Circuit. I know that Chief Justice Roberts, John Roberts, has been speaking a little bit about it, and I think and I have a lot of respect for him. I like him and I respect him, but I think we have to use some common sense. This Ninth Circuit, everybody knows it. It's totally out of control.
He calls them out of control. He also mentioned, Leland, the rate at which they have been overturned. It is still the highest among the circuit courts, according to the president, and the real issue is obviously, are they actively targeting the Trump administration's policies? I think that's the debate right now. Leland?
All right. And obviously the president's pointed a number of times to what the Supreme Court did with his travel ban. Push politics aside if we can for a second, Kevin. What's the president's day like? We had the call earlier with the U.S. service members, then a visit, and now what's he doing?
Well, you're right, and I'm glad you mentioned the visit, Leland, because fairly often, especially for those who don't live in the Northeast or maybe don't live in a coastal part of the country, the Coast Guard, quite frankly, can be unheralded. And they are heroes, and the president wants to make sure that the American people know that he certainly feels that way. So, as you pointed out, he did have a little visit with some of the folks from the Coast Guard, as we like to call them, Coasties, which is a very good thing. You may recall he actually did this last year as well, making known the appreciation of the American people for the hard work that they and all of our U.S. service personnel do, sacrificing time with their families for our safety and security.
We're honored to be joined on today's call by great patriots. You are really great patriots representing each branch of the American Armed Services. Melania and I want to express our profound gratitude.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, all right, that's great, Kevin. What's the president having for Thanksgiving dinner? We don't know yet. I keep checking my phone looking for a menu, and I promise as soon as I get it, I'll pass it along, my friend. For now, back to you.
Well, and it will make us all hungry. Hopefully you get some Thanksgiving dinner, too, with you and the crew. And KB down there, thanks, my friend. Good to see you.
You bet. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Now to the showdown brewing at our southern border. Now, as more migrants arrive seeking asylum here in the U.S., President Trump issuing a directive this week allowing troops to use force, if necessary, to protect Border Patrol agents. Alicia Acuna is live in Denver with the very latest. Alicia?
Hi, Ebony. Yes, and the president did address that this morning, that active duty servicemen and women on the southern border could use force if necessary, even if it's lethal.
Do I want that to happen? Absolutely not. But you're dealing with rough people. You ask the people in Tijuana, Mexico. They opened up with wide arms. Just come in, let me help you, let us take care of you. And within 2 days, now they're going crazy to get them out.
On Monday, the U.S. did close the northbound lanes and one of the pedestrian bridges coming into the country from Mexico. They did this for a number of hours to allow for new security barriers to be put in place. This in response to Tijuana residents on Sunday protesting the increasing number of Central American migrants arriving in their city. Secretary of Defense James Mattis talked to reporters off camera on Wednesday, addressing the president's order on force, saying, quote, "We received late Tuesday night an additional instruction authorizing to implement additional measures. We are sizing up what those are. I have already talked with folks over at DHS, and I would just tell you we will keep you posted on any new missions and any new numbers of troops as those decisions are made." Mattis is quick to point out that almost none of the nearly 5,800 active duty troops deployed to the southern border are carrying guns. Meanwhile, doctors working at the Tijuana U.S. border say health conditions are worsening among the thousands of migrants arriving. Reports of babies born on the side of the road and respiratory problems.
We've potentially got a real humanitarian crisis brewing here because they've been marching and walking very long ways, but they've come to the end of that road. And so now we're in a situation where, it could be very overcrowded, and so public health issues come into concern.
Back to that troop deployment, Ebony, Secretary Mattis does say that some of those troops could be home by Christmas. Ebony.
Well, that's certainly good news. Thank you so much, Alicia. And happy Thanksgiving to you.
Sure.
Leland.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
All right, with that, back to our top story from Kevin Cork's report. The president's dust-up with the Chief Justice that continues today on Thanksgiving. We bring in Philip Wegman, commentary writer for the Washington Examiner. Philip, good to see you.
Good to see you, Leland.
Anybody surprised by this?
Not at all. First of all, when you have the White House and the administration going back and forth, it definitely is a little bit alarming, but it's not the end of the world. And on the substance of the issue, I'm with Roberts on this one, and I'm with the first Supreme Court Chief Justice, Justice John Marshall. The founders made it the job of the judiciary to interpret the Constitution and to read the law. Now, there are activist judges on the Ninth Circuit, absolutely.
When you say you are with Roberts, you're with Roberts that you don't like the president talking about it, or you're with Roberts that the Supreme Court has the right to interpret the law?
I think I'm with Roberts when he is setting a precedent here, and he is sending a message at a moment when you have both the left and the right calling on judges to fall in line. By pushing back, he is telling every lower level judge that their job is to interpret the law, to look to the Constitution, and not get involved in all of the partisan rancor that is, taking over the rest of the country. And let's remember, Roberts has pushed back not just against a Republican administration, but in 2010, when President Obama snubbed the Supreme Court during the State of the Union, it was Roberts who said that was very troubling.
To that point, Chuck Grassley here, Chief Justice John Roberts rebuked Trump for a comment he made about judges' decision on asylum. I don't recall the chief attacking Obama when that president rebuked Alito during the State of the Union.
Well, first of all, these are independent judges. They are a co-equal branch of government. It's not their job necessarily to get involved in the day-to-day back and forth sort of partisan bickering. Instead, it's their job to read the law. And I think that when you look at the sort of friction that you have between the White House and the administration, it's easy for us to think that this is unprecedented, but it's not. I mean, if you look at the 2010 example of Obama attacking the Supreme Court, that was a problem then. If you look at, FDR FDR after he won in 1936.
Is the issue the president attacking the Supreme Court and effectively trying to push in a partisan debate into the court, or is the problem the beginning of it, which is the court trying to act in a partisan way if you bring up FDR and some of the decisions made during the New Deal?
Right, so it's both here. It's possible to say two things at the same time. The first is that the president should not be criticizing a co-equal branch of government, and the second is that
he criticizes his Congress all the time. They're a co-equal branch of government.
He criticizes Congress. That's right.
So
that's absolutely
what makes the judiciary so special in your mind that they deserve to live in a crystal house, if you will, and shouldn't be criticized?
So the answer here, Leland, is not to throw a presidential tantrum or to go on a tweet storm. The answer is for President Trump to continue to do what he does best, which is specifically nominate excellent judges like he did with Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. The administration and the Congress, they have purview over the judicial branch by being able to nominate and also advise and consent on some of these judges. That's the best way to deal with this.
Okay, but you still haven't answered the question. What is wrong inherently, in your mind, with the president going after the Chief Justice on Twitter? I mean, we know every president has complained about the Supreme Court. We certainly know FDR all but threatened the Supreme Court of do what you want me to do. I want you to do, or I'm going to add more judges to the Supreme Court. What's wrong with doing that in public, as the president's doing now?
Well, like I was trying to tell you a second ago, Leland, this is not unusual. You have two co-equal branches who are often at odds with one another. There's going to be friction. There are a lot of historical precedents. My thought here is that President Trump, this is perhaps counterproductive. At a moment when you have partisan rancor, when you have people trying to politicize every institution of government, this is counterproductive for him and for his for his agenda. It would be better for him to focus on how he has been able to be successful and how he has been able to put in judges who actually do their job instead of being activists.
Yeah, well, he certainly has never shied away from a fight, whether or not any commentators thought it was productive or not. I guess it gives us something to talk about. Phil, appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
You too, Leland.
Good to see you. Ebony?
This is a Fox News alert. Former FBI Director James Comey taken to Twitter after receiving a subpoena from the House Judiciary Committee. Also subpoenaed former Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Our Lauren Blanchard is live in Washington with the latest. Lauren, so Democrats and James Comey have been resisting a private hearing, which is exactly what this subpoena calls for a while now. What's the reaction?
Well, Ebony, what we're learning is the House Judiciary Committee has reportedly asked Comey and Lynch to testify at a deposition. Comey tweeting this morning confirming the subpoena, writing, quote, "Happy Thanksgiving. Got a subpoena from House Republicans. I'm still happy to sit in the light and answer all questions, but I will resist a closed door thing because I've seen enough of their selective leaking and distortion. Let's have a hearing and invite everyone to see." While a lawyer for Comey saying in a statement, Mr. Comey embraces and welcomes a hearing open to the public. But the subpoena issued yesterday represents an abusive process, a divergence from House rules, and its presumption of transparency. Accordingly, Mr. Comey will resist in court this abuse of process. Democrats want this to be in full view, and Comey has offered to testify before, only as long as it was open. But Republicans, including the chairman of the committee, Republican Bob Goodlatte, have insisted on closed door.
It is simply not appropriate for Mr. Comey to attempt to turn this into some kind of a public performance on his part, maybe to sell more books. I'm not sure what exactly his motivation is.
Attorney confirmed the former FBI director has been asked to appear on December 3rd, while reports show Lynch has been asked to appear on December 4th. Ebony?
Lauren, do we have any indication around this particular timing? Because we know, of course, that Republicans have been trying to get Loretta Lynch and James Comey to testify for a long time now.
Well, the last-minute demand comes as the chairman Goodlatte is retiring, and Democrats will soon control the House Judiciary Committee. These subpoenas would be Goodlatte's final act as chairman to make Comey and Lynch appear in this closed-doors session. The current top Democrat on the committee, Jerry Nadler, said last week he thought it was unfortunate that the outgoing majority was resorting to these tactics. Goodlatte says he wants to question Comey and Lynch on the 2016 presidential race and how they handled the Clinton email case and the Trump and Russia collusion case. Ebony?
All right, Lauren, plenty to take us into the new year, I am certain. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for joining. Leland?
Wait for that. All right. as if they needed more problems in California. A new setback for rescue crews there trying to find hundreds that are still missing after the deadly wildfires in California. Now, rain is on the way to the fire zone when we come back. Plus, a critic of Nancy Pelosi in a stunning about face. There's been a few of those the past couple of weeks as opposition.
In a remarkable turnaround, one of the 16 House Democrats who signed a letter opposing Nancy Pelosi's bid to become the Speaker of the House reverses course. Now he's throwing his support behind Pelosi as one of her potential challengers also backs down. And Congresswoman-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez announces that even she is supporting Pelosi for Speaker now. This all just days before a high-stakes vote. We're going to bring in our political panel, Howard Franklin, who's a Democratic strategist, and John Thomas, a Republican strategist. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to both of you gentlemen.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Howard, I'm going to start with you. Now, this is what they say, life comes at you fast, right? Seems like just a week ago, all of this opposition was mounting against Ms. Pelosi, and there was all this new blood, and lots of folks were throwing their names in the hat that they were going to challenge her. But now that it's come to the come down, everybody seems on board. Let me ask you, as we look at this newly elected Congress that looks more culturally diverse, there's more women in it, it's younger than most of our Congresses in past, do they have a mandate to also reflect new leadership?
I absolutely believe they do have a mandate. I think any of us who've been paying attention knew this day was coming. I think in the most diverse Congress, at least in terms of gender diversity we've ever seen, but also diverse in many other ways. And in the year of the woman, after monumental gains for Democrats, it would be very difficult for Democrats, the party that prizes diversity, to look away from a female candidate who has led this party through ups and downs for the last 16 years. I think she absolutely has 2 more years, and I think we'll see what happens after the presidential as to whether or not she sees another term. But for my sake, I expect she certainly will be elected Speaker once again.
Okay, John, I'm going to ask you the same question. Just putting on your opposite aisle hat for a second. If you're a Democrat and you see the types of leaders they have elected at the local level, so to speak, does Pelosi reflect that type of freshness, if you will, the newness of what a new Democratic Party should look like?
No, not at all. What's interesting is the hypocrisy of many of these new freshman Democratic members. Remember, Ebony, they campaigned against Pelosi, that they wanted a change, a further left vision than even Pelosi offered. But Pelosi's like the drug problem you can't quit. You keep saying you're going to do it, but you go back to the trough each time. And there's one reason why it was feigned outrage, and it comes down to the money. Pelosi is a great fundraiser, and these freshman members know that a lot of their wins are responsible because of the air support cash that Pelosi brought to them, and they're going to need that cash again in 2020. So look, it's hypocrisy at its worst, but I'll warn Democrats this. Nancy Pelosi is the romaine of the lettuce world. She is so toxic, so poisonous.
But John, let me ask you this.
She very well may cost the Democrats their majority.
I was going to go to Howard. I will in one second. John, let me ask you a follow-up about the toxicity of Nancy Pelosi, right? Many Republicans ran with her as a boogeyman type figure around these midterms. But Dems picked up a whole bunch of seats. So what does that say about the political effectiveness, for better or worse, of arousing when you put Pelosi out there like that?
Well, the challenge was she wasn't in power. She wasn't the leader of the House.
But but I saw some Republican ads, though, John. I'm sure you saw them too, where it was the kind of the carrot in front of the stick that says this is what's coming if you let these Dems get in there, and they got in there in big droves. So perhaps that works in the Dems' favor.
Look, I think that we took back the majorities in 2010. And held on, partly because of Barack Obama, but also because of Nancy Pelosi. The fact that she's in power, a lot of these moderate, so-called moderate Democrats in places like Newport Beach, California, that are posing to be moderates, they're going to vote in line with Nancy Pelosi, and Republicans will bludgeon them over the head with it and costing them the House. It's one thing saying you may be a check to Pelosi, but when you actually vote with her, remember, her approval rating is in the high 20s, Ebony. That's terrible.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Howard. One big supporter of Nancy Pelosi's bid to be Speaker again is President Donald Trump. And let me ask you, do you think that should be met with some type of skepticism, or what's your reaction to the president's support of Nancy Pelosi for Speaker?
You know, I thought that was really interesting. I also noted that President Obama gave an interview yesterday with David Axelrod, where he also had some very kind words for the soon-to-be Speaker. So, you know, it's the one thing that Presidents Trump and Obama agree upon.
I was going to say, gentlemen, last question before we leave. Is Nancy Pelosi the great unifier of Washington? Has she brought together President Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama? I mean, is this the Thanksgiving miracle?
I think the president wants her in power because he knows better than anybody he needs a villain, and she will be the villain if she gets in power.
Fair enough. Final word, Howard?
I'll agree with having a foil for certain, but I'll tell you this: I didn't get a vote as to the leader of the House Republicans or Senate Republicans, and I think Republicans ought to stay out of the leadership fights for Democrats in the House.
Okay, well, we did ask today since it's Thanksgiving, but thank you guys both for joining. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Leland?
See what a civil Thanksgiving discussion. We talk about talking politics around the Thanksgiving table. These guys made it look easy. All right, go check your turkey right now. It's your half-an-hour reminder. Black Friday also hours away. Check your email for the deals. These people are already lining up. Target, Walmart, Amazon, all trying to capitalize on Toys R Us's first year out of business, what that means for your pocketbook. Plus, new developments in a murder mystery shocking an upscale New Jersey town. We're going to tell you who investigators have arrested in a quadruple homicide.
Hi, this is Sergeant First Class Sarah Stewart, currently deployed to Camp Buehring, Kuwait with 106 Brigade Support Battalion. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all my family and friends.
The search and recovery effort continues in Paradise, California this Thanksgiving Day, where deadly campfire left thousands displaced and the death toll is still rising. Jeff Paul is live in Chico, California, with how the residents are dealing this holiday. Jeff?
Yeah, Arthel, it's incredible to see there are thousands of people who weren't impacted by this fire who are foregoing their Thanksgiving dinner to come out to places like this and show up to volunteer to cook Thanksgiving dinner for the folks who have lost so much because of the campfire. They're out here cutting up meat. This is the outside smoker area over here where they're cooking up some of the food that they'll be serving here around 11 o'clock for all those folks who are displaced. One of the guys up here, I don't know if we can make it up here, you might recognize him. His name's Guy Fury. He's out here trying to cook up this meat in time for all these folks to show up here for Thanksgiving. We're going to check in with him real quick. Guy, what are you doing out here today? Why show up here?
You got a lot of people that need help. I mean, this is Thanksgiving. This is one of the most important holidays that we have in the year, and so many thousands of people displaced, and this is called the community coming together. These are folks from all over the country come to make Thanksgiving and help out and show love and support.
Any message real quick that you would send to people at home?
Everybody can help. Everybody can help in their own way. Some can help financially, some can help physically, mentally, spiritually. Just reach out and take care of your neighbor and show support. It's we're the greatest country in the world. We need to act like it and show it to one another.
All right, thank you so much for what you're doing out here. Now, while this is going on here in Chico, up in Paradise, California, where the most of the damage from the fire, that's where all those firefighters are still up there working around the clock. We're told around 800 search and recovery crews up there still trying to bring closure to some family members who still do not know where their family member is. So it is a round-the-clock effort. Everyone's pitching in to try to give some folks out here some sense of Thanksgiving. Arthel?
Jeff, it's Ebony here. Thank you so much, and hope you're having a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. Thank you. Leland?
At least he's got some good food. He needs to send some back here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This marks a historic holiday shopping season. If you don't know why, we're going to tell you. It is the first one in decades without a Toys R Us. The company closed its doors after 70 years earlier this year. But that's been good news for other big box retailers like Walmart, Costco, Target, who now have one less competitor to contend with. We bring in Marco Soriano, managing partner for the Soriano Group. Marco, good to see you. One less competitor, does that mean prices are going up for everybody?
No, not necessarily. I think the fact that Toys R Us are not going to be around anymore, it's a good pie for everybody else to jump in. So we're seeing that already.
Did people? Evidently, not a lot of people went to Toys R Us because they're out of business. So who picks up the slack? Is it Amazon? Is it Costco? Who gets the biggest part of the pie?
What I've seen, Walmart, Target, Foot Locker is even doing that too. It's a lot of the big companies. They're just making space for toys now, and their revenues have gone up in comparison to what last year was. Right?
Are toys different than the rest of consumer goods in that because kids want to see them and then ask for them, or are the e-retailers equally able to grab at it?
Depends, right? So I think all year round you can buy toys. I mean, if you have children, you know this. But when it comes to the holidays, you're trying to buy what they want and probably looking for the best deal. If you plan ahead and buy that toy before Christmas time, you're probably going to get a better deal anyway.
There was a lot of reporting out there that because of the tariffs and because of sort of supply chains right now, there's going to be real shortages on a lot of the most popular toys out there. And come a week before Christmas or 2 weeks before Christmas, they're not going to be available anymore.
What toys are we talking about? I mean, everything is trending with the movies, comics, and Marvel and all of this. If you're talking about that, I don't think there's going to be any shortages of that.
No issue there. Okay, no. Put this in perspective for us as we go into Black Friday. How many retailers truly offer their best deals on Black Friday versus, hey, maybe I'll wait a little while until I get the next email that has a higher number on the sale price?
This is great. So I think the e-commerce base that all retailers are today implementing is the best way for them to sell, and it shows the highest sales anyway per year. As when we're looking at Black Friday alone, if you're looking to drive people into your stores, then perhaps. But the day before today, even Cyber Monday, it's huge for electronics and other types of softwares that people are buying, video games.
So much in terms of how much you buy is how people feel, how they feel about their own economic situation. Bloomberg just had this graph they put up, the S&P down for the year as we put up the graph. The sell-off over the past couple of weeks here that has been really astonishing, especially in the tech stocks. People have really gotten hammered. Is that going to affect a holiday shopping season that so many retailers were counting on?
I don't think the spirit is going to change. I mean, we're living in a society where we're commercialized every single aspect of any.
So people
holiday.
are going to spend the same amount no matter what their 401k is doing.
No. Yes.
No.
Yes. Absolutely. I see that happening.
All right, Marco. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Same here.
All right.
Take care, guys.
An upscale New Jersey town in shock after a family of 4 is found murdered. Police say a CEO, his wife, and their 2 young children were killed. Then their mansion set afire. Then officers made another chilling discovery just miles away. Brian Yinnis is live in our New York newsroom with more. Brian.
Hi, Ebony. Well, this is now a quadruple homicide investigation. New Jersey law enforcement believe this murdered family of 4 was targeted, though no motive has been announced. On Tuesday, Keith Canero, his wife Jennifer, and their 2 young children were found dead in their $1.5 million New Jersey mansion that was burning when first responders arrived. Keith, a tech CEO, was found shot dead on his front lawn. His wife Jennifer, their 11-year-old son Jesse, and 8-year-old daughter Sophia were found dead inside, badly burned.
Our investigation has revealed that, unfortunately, sadly, each of these individuals were the victims of homicidal violence at some point prior to when the fire was set at 15 Willowbrook.
So here's the thing. Hours before the fire in Colts Neck, New Jersey, at around 5 a.m., there was a fire reported at Keith's brother's home in Ocean Township, New Jersey, about 11 miles away. Paul Canero was arrested for aggravated arson on Wednesday morning. He's suspected of starting a fire at his own home hours before his brother's family was found dead in their burning home. And investigators believe Paul used gasoline to set his home on fire while his own wife and 2 daughters were inside. No one was hurt in that home. Now, both brothers were partners at a tech firm called Square One, and now all eyes are on Paul, though he hasn't been named a suspect in his brother's murder yet. 2 arsons, Ebony, at 2 homes owned by 2 brothers. One brother and his family are dead, and now there are many questions left for the other.
Brian, oh my goodness, how heartbreaking and devastating to hear prayers for that entire family this Thanksgiving Day. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Leland.
All right, Facebook PR scrambling through the holiday weekend. Why the company's second in command appears to be changing